Hello, my name is Sister Kari Pohl. In my role as Congregational Coordinator of Justice and Peace for the Sisters of St. Joseph of Baden, Pennsylvania, I often find myself providing education and preaching in what some would consider unlikely places. As a woman, my church currently prohibits me from preaching at a Sunday Mass. Nonetheless, in the spirit of this great servant of God, Thea Bowman, and if you don't know her, please look her up. In the spirit of the great servant of God, Sister Thea Bowman, the priests can have their pulpits. I'll preach about the importance of caring for God's creation at the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection hearings. I'll preach about God's desire for peace on the sidewalks in front of Beaver County Courthouse, and I'll preach about the gospel values of love, dignity, and respect during Pride Month on social media. In the first reading for the 13th Sunday of Ordinary Time, this Sunday, we hear from the Book of Wisdom. God did not make death, nor does God rejoice in the destruction of the living. For God fashioned all that they might have being, and the creatures of the world are wholesome. Far too many Catholics, myself and many of our sisters included, were raised in what I would call a closed system. We didn't know many, if any, people who identified as LGBTQ+, not because they didn't exist, but because they had been methodically pushed out and excluded from our small worlds. It wasn't until I was in my 30s and living in Nicaragua that I first met and got to know transgender people and witnessed the suffering that they experienced as a result of familial, religious, and societal discrimination. That discrimination isn't just in Nicaragua, however. According to a 2022 study by the Williams Institute at UCLA School of Law, lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people in the United States are 9 times more likely than non-LGBT people to be victims of violent hate crimes. That same study indicated that LGBT violent hate crime victims are nearly twice as likely as non-LGBT victims to be below the age of 35. This is violence which disproportionately affects youth and young adults. In 2023, the Sisters of St. Joseph of Baden made a commitment to educate ourselves so that we may be better equipped to address the discrimination and injustice directed toward LGBTQ+ people and other marginalized persons. In April of this year, Ms. Sarah Hansman came to us from Boston to discuss the theme of Catholicism and LGBTQ+ communities, theology, ministry, justice, with us. We ask your prayers as we continue to engage in this process so that we may know better and do better. To return to this Sunday's reading, God did not make death, nor does God rejoice in the destruction of the living. For God fashioned all that they might have being, and the creatures of the world are wholesome. As we close out Pride Month, I would like to assure our LGBTQ+ friends, family members, and neighbors, particularly youth and young adults, you are beautiful, you are wholesome, and you are loved because God made you. God does not rejoice in your suffering, and when you suffer, God suffers. As God's beloved, only good things are desired for you. And to paraphrase the blessing in the book of Numbers, chapter 6, may God bless you and keep you. May God's face always shine upon you and be gracious to you. And may you experience peace, love, and joy beyond all understanding. Amen.